Good morning, students. Welcome to Sai CA Coaching Center, and this is CA MS Swaminathan with you. Students, in furtherance to what we have learned till now, let us move on with the next part of the syllabus in today's session. Now, the cost of quality related concept is also expressed in another way as prevention, appraisal, and failure model, because we saw that there is a preventive cost, there is an appraisal cost, and there is also a failure cost. The failure cost being analyzed as internal failure and external failure. So this model is also referred as the prevention, appraisal, and failure model, with some particular steps involved in executing it, which are quite self-explanatory. So while we look at this cost of quality in real life, we have to bear in mind that what costs we are able to probably perceive could only be few, but there might be a significant proportion of these costs which will still be something considered to be hidden and therefore very difficult to spot. So management will have to get into the exercise of continuously monitoring this to try and ensure that the costs are kept at the bare minimum. Now, the second concept that we need to touch base with today will be total quality management. There are quite a few things expressed in the study material. I would be interested in giving you kind of a synopsis, an outline, which will help you along the path of your study about the chapter. Now, total quality management. The phrase which has been coined is extremely nice and also quite self-explanatory. Total, indicating that it is a holistic approach and not an isolated approach. Under total quality management, the idea itself is not to be looking at segmented or fragmented related quality measures. It is quality looked at the organizational level, because we are very clear that the customer must be provided the highest level of satisfaction, which can be rendered only if the entire organization is functioning at the top quality level. Now, there have been certain industries who have come up with these thoughts in terms of total quality management, which can be something that you can read through. All that I would like to tell is TQM, Total Quality Management, will definitely look at integrating all the organizational functions like your probably finance, accounts, purchases, storekeeping, which is your inventory, maybe your purchases, payroll, customer service, production related department, designing department. All of them will have to be brought under one roof effectively. They will have to be completely integrated in a seamless manner. That's when you will be able to achieve and focus on meeting the customer requirements and deliver value to the customer. Therefore, TQM basically involves a continuous focus on continual improvement of what? Of the various processes that are being implemented within the organization, which could be internal. But please bear in mind, the later part of the chapter, the second half of the chapter, when we touch concept relating to supply chain management, we would certainly be looking at even external linkages, which we understood in the first chapter itself, the vertical kind of linkages. Now, under TQM, obviously the organization is trying to set standards for itself internally, which could be internal benchmarks, or probably it can benchmark itself to the industry best practices and try to elevate itself to achieve that. Well, once it is achieved, it will also be looking at constantly challenging itself and trying to improve upon the existing quality. So nothing is taken for granted. It's always challenged, and you want to be able to better yourself at all points in time. The fundamental objective of TQM can also be expressed as the objective to completely eradicate wastage, and in other words, increase the efficiency. The yield must be increased, the efficiency must improve, wastage must be brought to the minimum level. practically speaking. Now, therefore, the organization must indeed have plans to execute the job right or correct the first time itself. Now, the implementation of TQM would obviously require that an awareness is created within the organization for which top management commitment is compulsory. If the top management is going to shy away from this fact, it is going to be very difficult. Virtually, it would be a foolish exercise to try and aim for total quality management. This is something that has to be driven from the top levels, the senior management down to the lowest level of the organization, whereby the top management tries to create an awareness in the minds of all the employees that towards meeting our central business strategy, quality forms the central notion. And therefore, to achieve it, each one of us will have a right, a responsibility to contribute in our own way, though it could be extremely small in terms of a contribution. Nevertheless, over a period of time, when small contributions are also being made, but on a sustainable basis, it could add to significant benefits at a later point in time. Now, therefore, it's a process which involves continuous improvement, top management commitment, integrating various functions of the enterprise in a seamless manner, and also involves on teamwork or collective work, and it doesn't encourage people working in silos. Now, there are certain popularly referred to as the 6 C's of the TQM, which basically go towards ensuring that an organization is able to successfully implement a TQM philosophy in its organization. They are fairly clear. For example, it starts with commitment as the first C, which is coming in from not only the top management, also every single person belonging to the organization. They should be completely committed to the culture of TQM. The second one is a culture, which means the awareness must be there. The top management must make the people aware and implement certain processes, procedures over a period of time to be able to build the culture, nurture the employees in such a manner that they believe strongly in delivering value, quality to the customers. It is not something that is only considered as a lofty idea. It is something which the employees are actually fascinated by, and they really want to achieve it. Then there is the third one, which deals with continuous improvement. The focus of all the personnel of the organization is constantly paying attention to continuous improvement, which means never taking what we do for granted and constantly challenging our own jobs to ensure that try and identify if there is a better way to do it, a more efficient and effective way to perform the job. Why? Undertaking that improvement would certainly contribute to adding significant value to our customer and would help us maintain our bottom line and also survive the thick or fierce competition faced in the business sector. The fourth C would deal with cooperation, meaning people or employees must not be encouraged to work in silos. People must be encouraged to cooperate with each other. There must be a cross pollination of ideas between different departments so that synergy, meaning 2 plus 2 is greater than 4 kind of a thing, works. Then there is a fifth C, which deals with customer focus. Needless to say, all these things definitely must point only towards customer focus to ensure value is delivered to the customer. Just like as how the compass of the needle of a compass would always point only to the North Pole. All these concepts and philosophies are always pointing only towards one particular goal. The final goal is a higher level of customer satisfaction. And the sixth C is control, meaning once you implement the TQM philosophy in your organization, mere implementation would get you no credit, would by itself not enhance the current levels of customer satisfaction. There must be appropriate policies, procedures, systems implemented in the organization to ensure that Whatever culture, philosophy you have actually implemented now is indeed functioning or operating on a regular basis, thereby helping you achieve the goal. Therefore, appropriate control mechanisms must be installed in the organization to constantly measure and monitor the progress and report any adverse variances for corrective action to be initiated. Also report favorable variances so that management might look at, for example, incentivizing the staff as well to appreciate them, which would make them feel happy, and probably the staff loyalty also might increase, and thereby reducing the labor turnover, which would be very significant with regard to skilled staff. Now, moving on, well, TQM has actually been originated, this idea was originated by Edwards Deming. He has developed or contributed kind of 14 points which he suggests as his methodology. I would actually not want to dwell about that because it is something that would be better left to the students to read it from the study material. If you have any doubts, please come back to me. I personally think it's fairly clear. Also with the idea that I've given you should be fairly okay. Then Deming also suggests that the final approach for implementing TQM could be something like a PDCA cycle, which is plan, do, check, and act, which is basically something that he is actually suggesting to ensure that organization focuses on continuous improvement in its operation. And the PDCA cycle, the term itself includes the word cycle, which means it is not something which is a rectangle or a square. It's a circular diagram, thereby meaning that there is never an end to it. It's an onward activity. It's a continuous activity moving on forever. So you need to actually establish the goals, objectives, and develop the appropriate action plans. You choose from those plans and implement the process that you plan for. Once you implement, check for the effectiveness, the efficiency, keep monitoring them. And based on the monitoring, if you need to take any corrective action, please analyze and take the corrective action, which is what is covered under the PDCA philosophy. Now, there are certain criticisms of TQM which you can go through. And then there is a topic which deals with the business excellence model. Now, business excellence is a very key philosophy introduced essentially to help develop and strengthen management systems and processes of an organization or an entity. What for? To help them improve their own performances. Again, what for? For the purposes of creating value. For whom? For the stakeholders. Would be shareholders, could be creditors, could be your customers. Of course, primarily it should be the customers. As we say, customer is a sovereign king. Business excellence model essentially looks at aiming to develop quality management principles. It wants to actually share with the world what are those principles which must be evolved or developed for the purposes of ensuring quality management, so that efficiency increases, effectiveness increases, wastage in the organization drops, employee loyalty improves, they are actually more committed to the cause of the organization, they believe in it, system functionality is better, and so on and so forth. Now, these excellence models have been presented by different people, but then there are certain generic models, one among which, for example, is the EFQM excellence model presented in our study material. Now, this EFQM excellence model incorporates 3 levels to it. One is your fundamental or the concepts of excellence, fundamental concepts of excellence, which is something like for any organization that intends to implement this particular model or any particular business excellence model, must indeed understand what are all those basic stuff or fundamental stuff that will need to exist prior to launching with any business excellence model. So we will look at them a little later. And then you have something called the criteria, the conceptual framework. Okay, the conceptual framework, which will basically try to help the organization achieve the fundamental concepts. And then we have the last component, which is the radar, or which refers to the logical assessment framework, which will be something like a monitoring, comparing, and implementing better things. Now, if one were to look at the fundamental concepts of excellence, we notice that in the study material, we have a couple of series of points expressed over there. For example, adding value for customers, creating a sustainable future, developing organizational capability, harnessing creativity and innovation, leading with a vision, inspiration, integrity, managing with agility, succeeding through the talent of people, sustaining outstanding results. There have been 8 of them which have been listed as a kind of a generic list. Now, before moving on, I guess every student, by just looking at this chart, would indeed understand that these are certain core aspects that every organization must ensure at the start before trying to have a building block on this. Correct? Therefore, these 8 typically act as your fundamental concept or the concepts of excellence. Now, the conceptual part, which is a criteria, the conceptual framework, basically tries to help the organization realize or achieve, in reality, these fundamental concepts. How would the organization achieve this? See, if something has to be achieved, we have to understand what would be the cause and what would be the effect, so that I would be able to achieve what I want to achieve. So this involves a cost and effect relationship analysis. So the organization will have to invest a lot of time and effort, which will be worth it, certainly, in terms of understanding what are all those particular aspects which will cause each of these to be achieved. Okay. Now, towards that, the model incorporates 9 different criteria divided into 2 broad categories. One is an enabler and the other one is a result. Enabler meaning the one which causes the activity, and the result is the end achievement. So there are 5 enablers and 4 results that are being proposed. If one broadly looks at the chart, enablers and results, we notice that under the enablers segment, at the central part is a strategy, and around the strategy, if you look at it, you have partnerships and resources, which could be with your external segment, like your supply chain management, your own internal resources, tangible resources that you possess probably, in terms of fixed assets, intellectual property rights, etc. Then you also have the leadership style to the management. How effective would the leadership style be? And the people, the employees who would be there with you, the personnel, the asset base provided by them, and the qualitative, the skill set provided by them, and the degree of innovation that could be provided by them, etc. The processes, products, and services that basically are also being provided. And corresponding to them, we find each one will have a result that will also be seen. This is how the 9 factors are being analyzed under the EFQM excellence model. Now, the final phase of this model basically would be dealing with your the radar, the logic assessment framework, basically, which deals with radar is an acronym which stands for results, R for results, A for approaches, D for deploy, A for assess, and R for refine, which is the logic inbuilt in this approach. Now, just take a step back and think. Is it something new that we are going to learn? If you go back and again look at each term of this expansion of the acronym, radar, R for results, A for approaches, D for deploy, A for assess, and R for refine. What are we trying to say? First, let us try to identify what results we want to achieve. Once we know that this is the particular result we want to achieve, what must be the approach that I must adopt to be able to achieve that result? I might have several different approaches. Out of all those different approaches, I will have to look at economic, financial, feasibility, viability to see what is it that would be the most practical thing for me to adopt in the current situation. Once I choose a particular alternative from the different choices that I have, I need to go ahead and implement it, which means I have to deploy it. And once I deploy it, have we not learned that there is no use in merely deploying without monitoring or controlling? Therefore, the monitoring or controlling part is addressed under the assessment category for the step. And then once you assess or monitor, don't we ever take corrective action if required? That is what happens in the refinement or the refined stage. So this is nothing that is something which is new to us. It's only something similar to old wine in new bottle. Now, if you were to look at a practical example, you have cleared your intermediate now, you are in your CA final. You need to achieve the result which is success, meaning you want to emerge as a chartered accountant in the exam you are supposed to take. Now, there has to be some approach that you need to adopt. It is not that you could say, let me sleep for the first 9 months, the last 1 month I will sit and study for 18 hours a day and clear. Well, that is also an approach available. Is it something that you would prefer? So you will try to exercise given the limitations you face, the advantages you have, what is the best fit for you to implement in this situation. Once you identify that, you will go ahead with the implementation. As you start studying right from today, you might notice that you plan to study for maybe 6 hours a day, but you have been able to do probably only 5 hours, or you did more than 6, which is 7 or 8. When you read 7 or 8, you're still unhappy. Why? Though you sat for 8 hours to sit and study, you feel that you have not been able to do justice to the subject. You've hardly covered 5 pages or 10 pages. So it could still be something which is a gross inefficiency. So you would assess it, go back and check, and then correct the errors or the mistakes only to come back with renewed vigor. This is what happens here. And then the next one is your Baldrige criteria for performance excellence. I will leave it to you for your self-study. And the business excellence model and organizational culture. Please bear in mind that all these things, these systems, these concepts will always involve team effort or teamwork or collective collaboration. It can't be achieved by individuals working in silos. And it's also critical that the top management must create an awareness and the required culture in the employees to be able to deliver these things on a continual basis. That's how even employees feel more empowered and more responsible as well. Okay, with that, we will stop for today's session. I hope we have covered up to page 22 of the chapter.